Hi, and welcome to the channel. I wanted to make a quick video just on a question I'm asked all the time as both a maths teacher and head of year at sixth form, which is, should I choose A-level maths? I'm going to approach this from a few different perspectives. So firstly, I'm going to choose about some common misconceptions, and then I'm going to actually get you to think about some questions because frankly, it just needs to be your decision at the end of the day. So the first thing you hear a lot is A-level maths is 1,000 times harder than GCSE. And I've taken this comment from Reddit. You hear it quite commonly. I want to talk a little bit about that and why that's probably not true or not fair. You need to do a lot of work. I need to make sure I've talked about that properly. And you need a grade something at GCSE in order to do A-level maths. And then I'm going to get you to think about some questions as well. So the questions I want you to think about are, sounds an obvious one, but do you actually enjoy maths? It's really important, and I'll explain why in a bit more detail in a couple of slides. What would you like to do at university? It is relevant, and again, I'll talk to that. And what are your three best subjects? And I'll explain why I want you to ask yourself that question. So let's get started. So firstly, A-level maths is 1,000 times harder than GCSE, and or maths is something that you need to do a lot of work on. I think we need to put this in context. It is worth bearing in mind that at A level, all subjects are a significant jump up from GCSE, whether it's biology, chemistry, physics, or even a subject you haven't seen before, such as economics. It is a notable step up from the quality of understanding you need at GCSE. It's just that for most people, maths is a subject they're very aware of. They've done it for 5+ years, and I think it's just going to be a bit more of the same. So it is. It is just that you're going to have to do a lot of work with that. And with that in mind, and in my school, we say 5 hours per subject per week. For all your A levels, as you move from GCSE to A level, you are going to need to do a lot of independent work outside of the classroom. Now, you don't have to do this. And if you don't do this, you'll find your A levels don't go so well. But one of the things that we really are trying to do is we're trying to get you to be better students so that when you do go to the next step, be it a degree apprenticeship or be it go to university or be it in the workplace, you are able to work by yourself and to take on work by yourself. For the most A levels, we do not have enough time to teach the subject to the degree of understanding that you may have seen at GCSE, and that means we need you to go outside and do some practice. I found this report here from the Cambridge University Press, which has basically done some numbers behind the jump from GCSE to A level. And if I show you the first page of one of the things they were trying to look at, you can see we've got art, biology, and obviously all the subjects below that. You can see what it's tried to do is break out the GCSE grade and then compare that to the likely grade that you're going to get at A level. Or actually, let's be more precise here, the actual achieved grade at A level. So if we pick a sort of fairly standard subject, I think art tends to be a subject that is self-selective. People who are really good at art tend to do art, so it's probably not the most representative. But biology is often a subject that people pick because they quite enjoyed it at GCSE. You can see from the data here that even those that have got a near top grade or a top grade at GCSE do not necessarily always perform brilliantly at A level. And similarly, even if you go down to the C grade, 5% of those who have a top grade in biology do not get a good pass at A level. It is not a guarantee. As I was saying before, you need to be doing some work outside the classroom. It does not automatically flow on. And actually, if you look at another subject, so I've picked business studies as well. Now, I want to be clear, at no stage am I ever saying that a subject is easy or it's straightforward, but it is typically thought that business studies tends to be an easier subject than, let's say, economics. And what's interesting here is that those that have done well at business GCSE, a bit more straightforward, the theory is a bit easier to learn, then tend to struggle more when they do business A level. And that doesn't surprise me so much because I see that with students of mine that tend to take business because they can't think of a third one or they think it might be easy because they found it fairly easy at GCSE. It does not transfer across. And actually, if we're looking at the data in a slightly different way, you can also see here that it is not the case that having a high grade guarantees a high grade at A level. And actually, I'll take that a stage further. You can see there are quite a few people that have got grades 5 or below that actually really clearly work very hard and pull it out of the bag at A level. So what do these numbers look like for maths? Well, the maths numbers are very similar. In mathematics, we can see those that have got the top grade GCSE do well and are quite likely and more likely than others to do well at A level, get 60% getting an AA star. but you've got 11% that haven't got a C. And that's a significant number. 1 in 10 people who get the top grade at GCSE do not achieve as good a grade at A level. However, on the other side, if you go down to the 5 or below, so if we look at those figures underneath, you can see that 4, that's not a brilliant number. It doesn't guarantee success, but you can, and people do A-level mathematics and come out with a fantastic grade. And I would say, without question, having the experience of seeing a lot of students go through the course with me and with other teachers, that those that put their head down from the start and work hard can and do very well. And ultimately, that's the point I'm trying to make here. It is harder at A-level. There's no question there's a decent jump, but you can make the difference by doing the work. And that is absolutely a conclusion that I want you to take from this. You need to be willing to do the work to do well at that subject. Which takes us to the next point. And it's kind of what I've been talking about all the time. The exam rewards effort. There's no question the structure of the A-level exam, not that dissimilar to GCSE, is an exam which has a decent amount of straightforward questions and then some problem questions at the end. If we go a stage further, let's actually look at the grade boundaries. So we can see on the grade boundaries, now these were a couple of years ago, and I have to say I think they're going to be slightly higher this year, but nevertheless the story is still the same. If you can get above 53%, so let's call it 55% to be a bit more generous, you can get a very good grade at Maths A-level. If you can get above 65%, you can get one of the top 2 grades at A-level. If you can say you've got an A in A-level Maths, that stands you in fairly good ground for your future, and it's something you can always point to. But what does that mean? What does that mean in the context of the exam? Well, what's notable is about 50 to 60% of the exam, and actually I think I'm being generous here, I think it might be a number that's slightly higher, maybe nearer 65% of the exam, is more theory-based questions. And that means it's questions whereby if you just practice them again and again and again and again, and you go over them, you can go into that exam, know that this is a question on binomial expansion, I'll do some binomial expansion and you will get some of the marks. So you'll be getting nearer one of the top grades just by making sure you do the effort. So in summary of this page, what I'm really saying is, yes, there is a jump to A-level, but that jump exists for all subjects. And I would say it exists equally for maths. It just means that you are going to need to do some work. But that, again, applies to all your subjects. The next thing I want to talk about is I want to leave you with some questions. Now, I don't know what your answer is to these questions, and I want you to have a think about them. But there are some things you probably need to consider. Now, this next sentence is going to sound more scary than I want it to. You are making a decision, which means that some things you are not able to do straight away at, let's say, university or further on. So to state the really obvious thing, if you don't choose Maths A-level, it's very hard to go and do a maths degree or do an engineering degree. However, most subjects do not require mathematics. It is, however, an A-level that a lot of subjects at university express a preference for. For example, economics. You do not need to have a Maths A-level to do economics, but an A-level in mathematics tends to suggest some ability to problem solve. And within that, there is the idea that some economics courses are more mathematical than others. So if you are really debating and you've got an idea what you want to do, and the vast majority of my students do not know what they want to do at the start of sixth form, to be fair. However, if you do know that you've got an idea of what you want to do, then it is worth bearing in mind whether those courses need mathematics or not. And of course, use university websites to help you choose there. The vast majority of post-18 education only requires 3 A-levels, and your UCAS offer itself will only be on 3 grades, even if you take 4 subjects. So, for example, further mathematics, often your A-level will allow you to choose 3 of your best subjects from the 4. The point of that is that you are choosing your 3 best subjects to help you get to the best place you want to be in the next steps. Which leads to the fairly obvious question, which is you need to enjoy maths. But you don't need to love maths. And again, thinking about the vast majority of the students, most students tend to choose 2 subjects they really enjoy, and the third one tends to be something they're happy with or think they can sort of get through. So don't think you have to love the subject, just think it's a subject you're able to do well in. One thing that I ask my students when they really are struggling is I think about it this way. Imagine you're doing your GCSEs. Now, of course, most of you, if you're watching this video, have probably just finished your GCSEs and your results are coming up very soon. And that's why this video is being put out now. However, let's go back a few months. Let's imagine you've got some revision to do or you've got some work to do from all your subjects. Which subjects do you look forward to doing the most? And I think in many ways that might answer the question for you. If you do not enjoy doing maths homework, you are going to hate maths A level. And actually, you do need to ask yourself why you want to be doing it, if that is the case. Because everything beyond that, let's say you do engineering, you are going to have to do a lot of mathematics. So let that help make a choice. One of the things that I've come to realize over the many years that I've lived is that if you do the thing you enjoy doing, you do a lot better at it. So how do I conclude all of this? Well, I'm going to put it all in one slide. So first of all, and I didn't say this explicitly, but I do want to make it very clear, it needs to be your choice. Parents often have a real view on what they want to do, and you should listen to your parents. I'm not saying don't listen to your parents, but it is your choice and it's what you want to do, and that is fine. All A levels are a step up from GCSE. Yes, there is a jump from GCSE to A level, but that applies to everyone. You can make the difference at A level. I have seen this happen many, many times. I've seen students who are fantastic at GCSE fall off at A level because they don't work, and frankly, they think they're better than they are. And I've seen students who I probably would think they may leave the course with a good C, who have come out with an absolute solid A or A star because they have worked hard. What do you want to do at university? I would say more marginal, but at the same time, what you want to do at university is going to affect what you should choose at A level. Mathematics is a good, wide-ranging subject which has a lot of respect amongst the university community. And which 3 subjects are going to give you the best set of grades? If you want to go to university to do, let's say, geography, then having a good 3, which doesn't necessarily include maths, is more than acceptable. And then finally, what you enjoy. A levels are difficult. And if you've got a subject that you're quite happy to put your head down and do, then you've chosen a subject that you're probably going to do very well in. Any questions? Anything you think I've missed out, please do put it in the comments. Let me know. Come back to me. I'll reply to all comments that I see below. And as ever, like and subscribe. It does help other people see this video and hopefully make the right choice for them. Thank you all.